counter to it was that we were going to put technology out there to make it somewhat easier for you to collect everything, to make things easier, but really to also shut you down. It's like drugs. They talk about how they got cocaine and heroin in the neighborhood to shut you down. Well, they also talk about how certain drugs help enlighten you, right? So what? It's that whole counter thing, right? 90% of the people are going to become drug addicts. The other 10% are going to become gods, right? But in essence, what they've done is they've enslaved the whole population of people by TV.
I just don't get how they did it like that, you know?
Well,
so
they had the technologies, and then they just implemented it, right? They had, these technologies were around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
They just had it secret.
Secret.
That's right.
Because they're lying to us in school then. Because
Well, that's the first thing that you've got to realize.
Yeah, good.
it blows my mind. Like, I don't understand how they did it. Like, how?
Let's
How
go
did
there.
this how happen? Like, that's so out of order. There's so much lies on top of lie, on top of lie, on top of lie, on top of lie.
Well, I think that what it is that they know that we're waking up, and that they have to keep us down.
Oh.
You're proof of that. What happened?
Maybe it's coming.
So,
Supposed to Jews?
yeah.
You don't have any children?
No, but I have a stepdaughter right now. It's hard. She's 10 years old, and she's talking about makeup.
10 years old, talking about makeup.
Yeah, it's
This is
scary.
Morris.
Mom,
Ready?
Okay.
Ready to go?
Been
Let's
ready.
do this. Yeah, I know you've been ready. Be here this week. Let's rise up and let's get the prayer. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love,
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector,
My guide.
my guide,
And my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night.
By night,
And by day.
and by day,
Through his holy prophet.
His holy prophet,
Noble
Islam.
Islam. Well, if you want pull up a little bit, we're streaming, so we could get the book, get the voices on there. um, next week Sunday, we have our Skype presentation with Brother Seth and Rabe. Right. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Do what you do.
Seth and Rabe next week, lecturing on the movement. If you haven't heard about Move, make sure you go Google Move 9, Move John Africa, other people that were affiliated. So that's going to be next week. We're going to do it on, gonna have a Skype with them. As well, just finished up the new book, Noble Juali, Plenipotentiaries and the Negro Black Colored Addiction. So you can go on to Amazon.com to go get this. We should have some hard copies soon, just waiting for the print. This book basically just outlines the different people that are listed as being so-called teachers of our people, and just outlining different people, different individuals who were speaking from constitutional perspectives, speaking from nationality perspectives, etc. So we can have a broader base to put our attention to when we start studying people other than the prophet, just to get more information, because there are people out there who were sticking to the nationality constitutional program after 1930, right? Many people. All right. Today's class, we're gonna go through some Moorish guide articles. We got a contact from a brother by the name of Darren Miller L. And brother Darren Miller has has copies of old Moorish guide newspapers from during the Prophet's time. You can find him on Facebook, D. Miller L. He's in Tucson, Arizona, and he's shipping out newspapers and Noble Drew Ali on a canvas picture or whatever, right? So we're just gonna outline some of that. Any questions or whatever, how we do. As well, if you wanted to touch on some of the stuff from the court session, we could do some of that too, just so we could get that out there. So this is Friday, I believe March 1st, 1929. Moorish Guide National Edition. So we know that Noble Drew Ali had a newspaper. We know that Noble Drew Ali told the Moors that, the paper is our only weapon to shovel ourselves out of the avalanche of lies that are annually let loose upon us. So we'll take a look at a writing called Prophet's Order Helps the Guide. Founder stresses the importance of a national paper. So this is for Moors out there to know and recognize that Noble Drew Ali laid out everything that we need in order to be saved. And our position is that we've been distracted, we've neglected him, and because of that we received our reward from Allah by being able to be colonized, by being able to be denationalized, by being able to be put in a position of no judicial standing, whether it's courts, whether it's society. Our neglecting the Prophet and what he brought has got us in this position where, like what you're saying, Justice, with how come they don't recognize stuff, and why is it so hard for Moors to make a claim and Europeans acknowledge it, right? The big issue is that we haven't been down with the Prophet for a long time. So now that we're just coming into this information that people already had previous, right? We look kind of like frauds, kind of. Because you weren't on this 10 years ago, you weren't on this 15 years ago, but now all of a sudden, you're on this, right? It's likened to somebody who claims to have a profession of something, but then when you engage them, you realize that they're not professional. And when you realize that, you're going to make a decision on whether, give them a chance to prove their professionalism, or don't deal with them, find somebody who's qualified, right? The problem that we have is that, we're not trying to provide a service or anything like that. We have a duty to put this information out so other people could start thinking about their position and whether they should, get themselves out of that position so they can help themselves, right? So Prophet's order helps the guide. The specific purpose for maintaining and publishing the Moorish Guide is that all wish to know the news and have contact with each other in this great divine movement of the Moorish Americans. The Prophet's voice will reach the hearts of all who obey and consider him as the same. To be able to maintain, we must act according. Every head must have his or her news of the temple in the Moorish Guide for publication, and anyone who fails to do so cannot be classified as a true loyal leader of his or her temple. This is a notification to heads of all temples that he or she submit to the Moorish guide the news of his or her temple, or the law will be enforced by the Prophet on them as an unloyal leader of the faith of Islam. Every member of each and every temple individually must subscribe to the uplifting fund. Any member can send their own book to the home advertisements in this paper. They who have their money in belief will trade with them, all Moors. They represent people in our community, realizing our strength, willingness to return oppression of goodwill and form of trade. If your neighborhood has been overlooked by solicitors or possibly your own section, let some more people take the responsibility in getting the business manager whom you trade interests and spending some money with and change it with us as we have with them. So Noble Drew Ali outlined that the Moorish Guide newspaper is the way that the voice of the Prophet will reach the hearts of the people. And all who obey and consider him as the same. To be able to maintain, we must act according. Every head must have his or her news of the temple in the Moorish Guide for publication, and anyone who fails to do so cannot be classified as a true loyal leader of his or her temple. That's Noble Drew Ali, right? And if we go around and we tally all the temples around here, right, we'll easily realize that many people who claim to be heads are not true loyal leaders of the temple, simply for the fact that they don't have a paper. Like, that's it. That's just one point as to why those people are not loyal, disloyal, because they don't even have a paper. But then people are gonna, talk crap to, Canaanland Moors about we're agents and all that. But we got paper. We've been had paper. Before many other people had papers, we had a paper, right? So when you hear these fakers speaking from the perspective of, disrespecting active Moors, right? It's an obligation we have to say something, especially if we know that they're running a fraud. Just like one of these Moors in Mecca called me yesterday or this morning. Yesterday. And they're telling me that some Moor told them that Taj said that they're a fraud because they didn't set up their temple right.
Sorry.
Some Moor told some other Moors.
Told another Moor, told another Moor.
Right?
Again, someone talked to you
Somebody talked to me.
saying that some other Moor
Yeah.
said to him
That Taj said
that
no recording or nothing like that, but Taj said, right?
who was
That the Moors that individual came to,
Moors that the guy had come to.
Yeah, that they're a fraud. That's why he was going to tell them, that, you guys need to check your stuff because, Taj said you guys are a fraud.
But somebody told me that.
But somebody told him that. Right? This is COINTELPRO at its finest. Because remember, like we talked about Tuesday, Pilar Sanders LD proclaimed her nationality. She's upper class. So that means the work that active Moors have been doing is actually getting out, because we don't even have just commoners proclaiming their nationality now. Now we have Hollywood people proclaiming their nationality. Not that they just did that recently, right? Because, Mariah Carey's children's name's Morocco. They have a Moroccan room in their house and all that type of stuff. So they already know what's up, right? They've been knowing what's up, right? Stevie Wonder said misrepresented people and sang a song about the Moors and them being out of, power in Spain. So it's not like the word hasn't been out. But the issue is that people are taking such a passive approach with this information that their passivity comes across as weakness to vampires and agents and everybody else who, if this information gets out, then they become non-existent. They become unworthy, right? Especially if, they didn't have a paper for 15 years or whatever. And people are still going to them as, oh yeah, we'll go to those guys because, they've been around or whatever like that. Yeah, but they don't have a paper. And Noble Ali made the claim that if anyone who fails to do so, meaning have a Moorish guide publication in their temple, right, cannot be classified as true, loyal leaders of his or her temple, right? And not only that, he also said that this is a notification to all the heads of the temple. This is 1929 in the newspaper, which is a public record, right? So nobody can say that they didn't know. Nobody can say, oh, I never heard about that, because as we know, ignorance of the law is no excuse. And Noble Ali was a lawman. So I didn't know is don't even go there. Well, I'm ignorant to the Moors. Oh, sorry. Well, I never heard about birthrights. Oh, sorry. Nothing personal, but sorry. All right? This is a notification to heads of all temples that he or she submit to the Moorish guide the news of his or her temple, or the law will be enforced by the Prophet to them as an unloyal leader of the faith of Islam. That doesn't really sound like a position that you want to be in as a Moorish leader. That law is going to be enforced on you by the Prophet, right? Because of that individual being an unloyal leader to Islam. An unloyal leader to Islam. Right? Specifically, the faith of Islam. Because like we said, right? The Islam people, they got their newspaper that they put all their articles in, right? And not only do they have their own newspaper, but they also acknowledge that Noble Drew Ali is the resurrector of Islam in America. The Muslim people, in their paper, which is public record. So they're letting the world know, right? Because I'm sure this paper goes everywhere. because they have a price on here as outside the U.S. So obviously the Muslim Journal isn't just in America, right? And they have their own paper. When we go to, everybody else, NOI, they got their paper, right? Garvey had a paper, right? Chicago Defender, Chicago had a paper for so-called, blacks or whatever, right? So it's having a paper is important because where's the let me get publication?
Sorry?
Publication. The law dictionary. Just your publication. Because we have to acknowledge that Noble Drew Ali did more than people think that he did, right? Because majority of people who heard about Noble Drew Ali heard from some warped perspective, from somebody who was taking the position of I'm the prophet, so give me your fiat and I'll save you or whatever, right? Or come to our temple over here because our temple is the real temple. Those guys aren't really the real temple. When it don't matter, the temple's position is, to have leadership, heads that keep it running, right? But like we talk about, quality over quantity. We don't need no 500 people up in here that are going to be here today, and then tomorrow not here, and then they're here and then they're not here, and then they're here when they got a problem, and then they're not here. Our position: give people their birthrights and kick them out the door, right? Because this is an institution for those who want to learn. If you don't want to learn, cool. There's the door. You got your nationality birthrights or whatever. All right, when you go out there, you better be studying. Because when you get your ass kicked out there, don't come calling the Moors now when you haven't showed any allegiance. Because that's how people get themselves in trouble. That's how people get themselves kidnapped and stuff like that.
We have a responsibility to try to, I mean, we're doing that.
Right.
I mean, not
Yeah.
assisting, trying to give them a level of competency.
The level of competency, just like the level of competency for baker, comes from him knowing the recipe. How the baker know the recipe? Because he went and downloaded it or printed it or wrote it up himself, tried it. This tastes like shit. Let me add something. Let me take this out. You know what I mean? And then until you master your recipe. When you master your recipe,
So that comes from one's own work.
exactly. That comes from one's own work.
With this school, they would come to be practicing.
That they would come to be initiated.
Putting in their ingredients.
Exactly. So you can go out there and have something that's done. But people think that, well, my problem is A, so I'm going to come here. Well, my problem's fixed, so, I guess I don't need to be here no more until I have another problem. And then they come back again, and when they get a problem again, then they, right? Which is cool. We're not knocking it, right?
But I mean,
But
powers that
ultimately,
powers
the
that
higher
are-
forces,
the powers that are controlling their little scam aren't letting anyone come and just pull their little games.
right, and
You
that
can't
too.
you can't come in here with some sort of, some one shoe tied and not having the shoe on.
Right.
And go out there and try this on them, because this is their little pot of resources.
Right.
Our ignorance.
Right.
Is what that's about. So unless you got your I's dotted and your T's crossed, you ain't gonna you ain't gonna get one over on them.
But that's
Exactly.
why it's so hard for. That's why it's so hard for us Moors to. Ahead. Yeah, that's why it's so hard for us Moors to really, as you've asked before, Justice. They don't recognize us. They don't recognize us in the sense that they've probably seen it before. They want to know, well, do you really know what you're doing when you come in? Are you just an imposter, or you're the real thing?
And even if you do know what you're doing, we're still gonna try and, through my own personal experience, and because he was talking about this too, when I saw his face today, I was like, remember I told you?
Yeah.
You stole his lunch money. That was and still, you know, just the energy behind it, which is beautiful, because you realize that when he finally gets to that level where he's gonna be shining, you will see it on his, you will see it being reflected.
You would exude that.
Right now, he's feeling low.
Yeah.
Which is right, because he has been beaten up. But ultimately, even if you do know what you're doing, they're still going to try and bluff you.
Exactly.
And even still, because they own the cards and the table, they're still going to lie to you.
Right.
And they may then say that even when you put down the 4 aces, they may have 3 kings. They're still going to say, sorry, you didn't have the 3, you didn't have the 4 aces.
In time.
Right?
Yeah. You did something. Right.
But just to counter this, because he had publication to read, but you touched on it, or maybe you touched on it, on the fact that I had 2 thoughts. One of them was, I wonder what it would have been like for us to have been around when the prophet was
During
there.
that time.
Because I'm sure there were guys like us there,
Oh, yeah.
right? For
Oh, yeah.
sure you know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
how this has gotten to where it is. But I just had this warm sense. I wonder what we were there in the meeting, and he was up there, right?
Right.
But secondly, he makes a brilliant point, which I think speaks to the whole point of it all. Like, I went and did my stuff in front of these fraudsters by myself. I think he's been battling by himself. Some of us have had, you know, I think I showed up for you once. I think I was there for another cracker, and your too. So I've been there, but I think part of the issue is it really feels like we're alone.
Yeah.
Like when we're going in there.
Yeah.
Like, and we are.
Right.
We've got no. There's no. You know, you go in there as with a lawyer, you've got this foundation, even if it's a fraudulent one, that speaks like it's all been set up.
Yeah.
You know, he shakes his head. Oh, I remember you at the meeting. You know, thing. Everyone, you know, even the. But we go in there, we're alone.
Right.
And we shouldn't be alone. Right. I mean, we should be to whatever extent, because that's the work that's being done. But this is where we're talking about coming to it, so it becomes a movement.
Right.
Of energy, energies rather than an energy.
And you know, that's why when Moors go to court, right, we have to remember that Moabite, right? Moabite is equivalent.
There's 100.
100?
100 bills.
Moabite is equivalent to 100 bailiffs. A Moabite is equivalent to 100 bailiffs. So when a Moor who's a descendant of the ancient Moabites goes to court, he's 100 bailiffs in there. So he's not alone. We're not alone. The concept of you got it?
Yeah, well, I got published in Moor. I'm just thinking about it is when they said to you, Dave, remove them. Your response is, well, wait, there's only 2. Another 98.
Yeah.
Only took one.
You know what I'm saying?
For next time.
It's like, wait, there's only 2 of you. Where's the other 98?
Yeah.
100 of y'all.
Right.
So it's like, okay.
Exactly. Right? So our mentality going in has to be that we're the majority. Even if we're an individual. Right? even if we're individuals, you should be thinking, right? Because it's like we were talking about in the last class, getting out of the denationalized mindset, because we've been avalanche of lies has been put on us, right? So because the avalanche of lies has been put on us, we have a task of getting back to our ancient foremothers and forefathers mindset, right? With all the studying that we do, that like there's still little nigger glitches,
Yeah.
right? And majority of the time they just happen, spur of the moment type of thing. You know what I mean? Like you're talking to the wrong person who doesn't have any knowledge of self or whatever, and you end up saying something that's brings you out of your pre-national position to go relate to them because they just don't get it, right? Or with court, for example, right? What do you mean impropriate persona? I don't know what that is or whatever judge is saying, whatever, right? He has the obligation to know that if he's sitting up there, right? And the denationalized mindset would get us to answer stuff because he's the judge. We have this. We have been trained to think that those people are the authority, right? We have been trained to think that is a courthouse. You know what I mean?
I think I'd go a step further, but I'd go a step back as well, thinking that I have received judgment from these fraudsters before. I have received their fraudulent conditions before.
Right.
So there is a basis of conditioning
Right.
that comes behind that. Because when I was in my nigger state, that guy did something to me
Right.
before that affected my freedom. Now that I'm out of that, there's still somewhat the memory
Right.
of that.
Yeah, not being able to
That
let
you
go.
have to get yourself out of.
Right.
As I was saying to our brother here, it's about. I was saying that they've had a long period of time to condition me
Yeah.
to this crap. So that's where I think the literature comes into this. And I was thinking about this when I went out here to the store, that it's not only the literature, at this point there's a lot of this visual stuff.
Yeah.
It's everything. You have to start to rewrite all of that stuff,
Right.
erase that stuff, and
Then put it back.
put the good stuff
Right.
in.
Put the good
So
stuff.
that everything now, their stuff becomes the abnormal stuff.
Yeah.
And everything else you're getting is the national stuff, right? And it's only every once in a while that you step back in there.
Right. Right. And as well too, us getting into the mentality that our fight, our birthright fight, isn't about going to court. Because people have the mentality that you have to go to court in order to. When I go to court and then the judge dismisses, now I can say that I'm a Moor because the court said or the judge dismissed this or whatever, right? When that is a tribunal, that's not even a court.
That guy's not a judge.
That guy's not a judge. So even if he does dismiss something or does something in your favor, it's colored. Does it have power then? If it's colored, no. So then the real authority comes back on us then.
A step further is even if he finds you, if he actually takes your liberty away, that's one thing. But if he's fining you with fiat, that ain't even really, it's
Right.
fake all the way through.
Right.
It's only what we assign to it,
And
which is where the cooperativeness comes in.
the voluntary servitude.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we know that the issue is that the European has taken the position of power and had us think that we don't have a position of power, right?
You don't have a position at all.
Or we don't have a position at all, right? When the reality of the situation is that the powers that they have that they're using is strictly because of the powers that we abandoned or gave up, right? One, by not having Moorish publications, so that this information could be dispersed to everybody. So they're clear about Noble Drew Ali, Moorish movement, you know what I mean? Allah, Islam, whatever else, right? You got publication there?
Oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah, all right. Let's hit that.
Well, what I'm just, you can read it further, it's like publication and publish basically means to make public, to make known to people in general, to bring before public, to exhibit, display, disclose, that's an important word, disclose or reveal. Reveal.
Right. That was publication.
That was publication.
All right. And so as far as this is now, what about public? Public.
Well, publication, oh, you mean public?
Yeah.
Okay, public. Okay, let me get, there's a lot of public.
Okay. If any apply, we could start talking.
Well, no, I'm just, it's like, I want to get to the noun of it, the noun, and there's an adjective. But the whole body politic, perfect, or the aggregate of the citizens of a state, district, or municipality, the inhabitants of a state, county, or community. And in one sense, everybody. And accordingly, the body of the people at large, the community at large, without references to the geographical limits, that's perfect, of any corporation like a city, town, or county. The people, in another sense, the word does not mean all the people, nor most of the people, nor very many of the people of a place, but so many as them as contradistinguishes them from a few. I'm coming to keep going. Accordingly, it has been defined or employed as meaning inhabitants of a particular place, all of the inhabitants of a particular place, the people of the neighborhood, and yeah, that's it.
All right.
It encompasses everything.
So the public should have a publication. If you say that you're public, whether you're republic, right, or just the public, which includes the whole body politic, right, inhabitants of a state, community, without reference to corporation, right, without reference to a corporation, right, all inhabitants are classified as the public. So logically, publications are, to make public, exhibit, disclose, reveal to the whole body politic, whatever it is that you want to disclose, whatever to them, right?
So that's in addition to say, like, we send them whatever information that we
Right.
want answered from them,
Yeah,
make it public.
make it public.
We're making ourselves known and public. We're revealing everything about us, our nationality, our birth rights, our land mass, whatever.
Exactly.
You make public your delegation of authority, one. You make public your standing in law, two. You make public, well, who's the injured party here?
Right.
So you're asking all the questions.
All the questions.
Make it public.
And that's what I'm saying with the Ring of Air. That, yeah, we can go down to whatever jurisdiction of court and file a suit against people. We could do that, right? Whether that statement of claim gets accepted or rejected or whatever is not even where we're going, right? The point is that it has to be made public, especially if you're dealing with, racketeering, extortion, fraud, denial of due process, conspiracy, constitutional torts, collusion, misrepresentation, malfeasance of office, color of authority, whatever, should be made public, right? For example, with Brother Lanre, right? And we put this out there so people could know, right, the power of making stuff public, right? So he got, pulled out the car, whatever, at gas station and all that stuff, kidnapped, etc., right? After he got out, he went to the people who had the tape, which was the gas station, and they were, oh, nah, we can't give it to you or whatever because, it's a police investigation and, they never came to pick theirs up yet, so, they have obligation to get theirs first before you get yours, whatever. Like, oh, really? Oh, all right, no problem. So I'll wait. Waited. Called police. They never went to go pick up nothing. Called Petro Canada. No, well, they never came yet to pick up the tape, so we can't do anything with it or whatever. Okay. Called up Petro Canada. Got, the head of the whoever or whatever. Got the name of the lady who's supposed to be making copies of, the investigations department or whatever like that. Put their ass in the video. 3 days later, got the stuff in the mail that he wasn't supposed to be able to get because police investigation and all that. And then when he got it, immediately put it up on YouTube, right? Little, video statement or whatever, right? Goes to court, and police are asking him, how'd he get it? How do you get it? What do you mean you have the Petro Canada tape? Right? Because when people get, it's like, okay, for example, what Dirty Moors try to do is they try to go on Facebook and say, hey, Kudro's blah, 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 and then hope that it wildfire or whatever. Right? It's the exact same thing that we're doing when we put stuff public. Right? To them.
But what most of us don't realize in regards, like I mentioned Facebook really isn't public.
That too.
It's a corporation that you're doing it through.
That
So
too.
the corporation has rules and regulations to what you can
What you can
say.
and can't do or say on that. Right.
So by putting it out there, you're not making it public. You're just putting it out there.
You're just being a Negro. Right?
The
easy route. Instead of going and writing a writ or whatever like that, you know what I mean? Doing what really supposed to be done, right? Filing some complaint with a mufti or something like that. They don't want to do that. They figure, oh yeah, we'll just put it out there
Make a
and
comment.
make and hopefully that, whatever. Well, it doesn't go like that in the public, especially the Republic. But then half these people say that they're Moors and they got LMB on their name. Right? But they're not gonna create a website, right, to put up their stuff, right? Remember we're talking about the denationalized mindset. They're not gonna create a website of their own to post this information that they got to prove that Kudro's an agent. They're gonna go use Facebook, which isn't their stuff. They're gonna go use Scrim, which isn't their stuff. They're gonna go use all these websites that isn't theirs and claim that they're making a claim. How are you using somebody else's stuff to make a claim? How am I going to claim your conveyance as mine? And want to put plates on it and go right to travel or whatever. Right? When they got their own conveyance sitting right there that they don't want to use. Because if they use theirs, there's a chance that, their window might get broken if they get stopped. Right? their car might get impounded if they get stopped, but they don't want to risk that, right? They want to risk your stuff. They want to mess up your livelihood, keep their livelihood, you know, nice and clean and whatever like that, right? In order to get the public to be aware of what they're exhibiting, disclosing, and revealing. But if you are taking the position of using somebody else's stuff, we're not talking about promotion stuff, right? You know, we're not talking about, hi, I have a book to sell, or we're talking about public notice. We're talking about putting the public on notice with regard to whatever it is that has happened. If it's not made public, then you lose. Same thing that we say with every single day in the newspaper. Every single corporation called a city, state, whatever, they'll have something in the newspaper. Notice. Big bold letters on the top. Notice. We're going to be digging up Eglinton tomorrow. Anybody have a problem? Here's a number, call. Same thing with G20. We had a G20 here. Notice. 5 months before, they had stuff all over the city. Oh yeah, there's G20. You know, the red line means whatever. The yellow line, don't get in this box, because if you go in this box, then you're going to get whatever. People, nah, whatever. You know, the G20, I'm going to go protest or whatever. Or I'm just going to go coffee time. Go get some coffee. So coffee time's in that box. And then people get rounded up, corralled or whatever, put in some detention thing, and then they're talking about, oh, they violated my constitution. No, they put you on notice. You send them a message saying that you don't agree with this or whatever, but you're going to go down there and then get mad. Right? King Alfred plan. Notice. There's a notice what we're going to do to Negro, black, colored people. Whether they want to take that serious or not, that's up to them. You know what I mean? But, you know, like Moor say, you know, Noble Drew Ali said, if you don't do anything else, declare your nationality. If you don't do anything else, at least do that. At least make a declaration that I'm a national. Right? So again, with Drew Ali putting out the newspaper and telling the Moors that, you know what, this is what we have to do, and us not doing that, we can see why we're in the situation that we're in. Right? There was something else that you were looking up to that you had there? Publication and something else?
Okay, well, there's publication. I was going to go to Republic.
Okay,
so we get an understanding of that. But yeah, the publication published.
Yeah, you can go Republic.
Republic? Yeah, Republic. And just the first word alone, when we received the letter from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So a republic is a commonwealth, that form of government in which the administration of affairs is open to all citizens. In another sense, it signifies the state independently of its form of government. That's republic. It's a commonwealth.
Right? So all citizens. The administration of affairs open to all citizens. That's no different than what we're doing with the temple. All citizens out there who are members of this nation state, come on down to Friday meeting and put your whatever that you got to put on the record so that it can be dealt with, so it can be handled, so that we can work out how we're going to fix these issues that we have, that we're dealing with as quote-unquote Moors. Right? But, you know, it's funny how, you know, dirty Moors have the least to show but the most to say. Right? And then faithful, active, loyal Moors zip the lips. Right? And stuff, they have stuff to show. Whether it's paper, books, website where you can go buy the book, buy the paper or whatever it is, you know, classes, whether it's civics classes, law classes, you know, hip hop classes, whatever. There's some type of activity that's going on, right? And again, you know, shutting down a court doesn't mean you're active,
No.
right? We have like Brother Casanova started posting up. Huh? No. He was posting gangbangers,
Oh, really?
videos that's out there for gangbangers talking about Moorish science, but from a gang perspective.
Oh, shit. Really?
Yeah, right?
On YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, right. Him recording people. You know, just having a conversation with a brother. You know, that's, you know, not really fully, but knows a little something, right? Take them, ask them some questions, make them make some statements, and put it out there. They're not saying nothing wrong. Yeah, they're gangbangers or whatever, but they're not saying nothing wrong. They're dropping it
Shit.
for what it is. Yeah, they're dropping it. They're studying. They're recognizing that, you know, something has to change and all that.
They're just not putting it in the proper
They're just not putting it in the right context because you know the street life is that's a whole different world. You know what I mean? But the fact that somebody's even gonna step out of that to have a conversation about law, jurisdiction, status, things that, you know, we would think those people don't know. They're very well versed in that. You know what I mean? They're very well versed because they were trained well. They take their gang banging serious. They don't know that it's more science that they're dealing with.
That is, but they just do it.
But they do it religiously, right? So if we have to try to convince a Negro black colored that you're a Moor and convince a gangbanger, we'll probably get further with the gangbanger.
Okay, because they already have
Because
some
he has a
discipline.
foundation.
Yes.
He already has a discipline
Yes.
in what this is.
Well, not even that. Only it's more or less they have a discipline in something
Right.
that, as a
Yeah, in general. Right,
in general,
right,
yeah. So
right.
it's like they know that if anything's gonna happen to them, they have brothers to back them up.
Right.
On that level alone,
On that level. Right.
as opposed to just walking the streets, just dazed,
Right.
not knowing who they are.
Right.
Okay. Wow, I know that. Okay.
So it's the public has to be made aware, right? The public has to be made aware, especially when Moors are doing things, because you know it's like with us with the issue with the paper. Well, you know, 3 of us in here, right? 4 of us or whatever. You know, the finance issue is the issue. But, you know, everybody want to put stuff in the paper. Well, you know, it's $100 article. Well, I don't know if I could, you know, because, you know, and, well then, you know, then we'll put whatever we feel should be in the paper, right? If the public doesn't want to give input. And then people are going to get mad and say, oh yeah, you want to taking over the temple or whatever. Well, no, we're only taking over because y'all ain't. You guys have trustees right here. Supposed to do, right? We're gonna sit here and play. Oh hi, Grand Governor Mario. Oh, hi, Grand Governor Omar. Oh, and then it's just us, right? I mean, it could be just us because you know we're all 100 bailiffs. You know what I mean? So we got 400. You know, 400 of us in here right now, right? You know, plus the 5 people online, right? So you got that's 900 Moors, right? 900 Moors. Right now, there's 900 Moors in this class.
I don't know that.
That don't know that they're here. Right? You know, which doesn't take away from, you know, them being here or not. But whether they're here or not, there's going to be
900.
900.
Yeah.
If another person walks in the door, we got another 100.
Right there.
All right. You know?
That's beautiful because in the sense of it, they don't always have to be in here.
Exactly.
Just the spirit is out there.
Right. Just like the temple isn't always a building.
No.
You know what I mean? The fez isn't always this. Could be a kufi. Could be a turban. You know what I mean? It's still dealing with the foundation of what this is. But we have to look at it from the correct perspective at all times. Because as soon as we start looking at this from the wrong perspective, that's when we get in trouble. All the time. That's just what it is. Because we don't have to recreate the wheel. All we have to do is follow the protocol. Yeah. In following the protocol, because we just started, because we should have been following the protocol since 1913. So because we just started following the protocol, okay, we have to catch up. So we're going to get some lumps. Right? We're going to get some, like what just discussed. You know what I mean? Lunch money. Gone. Right? And you didn't do nothing. But those are just some of the things that we have to deal with along the lines so that, you know, like all the, for example, all the time that you were saying that you've been to court for this, that, or whatever, right? You've been there so much time. Okay, well, they have documentation of that. Regardless of what happened in there. They have documentation that you were there, you know, whatever. You know, 5 times at 8 hours, so, okay, 40 hours, right? So when you said, well, you know, I think that they dismissed, you know, I think they dismissed the marijuana charge because it was only, you know, a quarter of a spliff or whatever, right? I say they dismissed it because they know that you're not going to deal with it.
That funny thing about that JP was the JP that dismissed it at 60 Queen was the same JP that was at 2201 Finch a week later for other charges that I had to deal with. The same JP, yeah. 60 Queen went to 2201 Finch.
Right.
I don't think it was coincidence.
No, probably not.
Right?
What happened at the second one?
They end up passing the disclosure and have conditional discharge and highway traffic act fines. Like I can plead to that.
Yeah.
Or postpone it to another date.
Right. So they postponed, obviously. Right. Okay. So the same guy, right?
The thing is that I agree with what you're saying because in the criminal code it says that with three convictions of suspend the license is an automatic 6 months in jail.
Right.
But they're saying no jail.
Right.
So it does hold weight what I'm saying.
So right. So all of a sudden, right? So 3 convictions of some highway traffic act violation means jail time.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you had more than 3 convictions, right? And you're sitting here right now.
Yeah.
Right? That, like, right? They don't have to dismiss it. The point is going home at the end of the day. The point is not getting kidnapped. Forget dismiss. Why? Because they're colored. Even if they dismiss, doesn't mean a damn thing because they're colored. That's why when people, you know, want to sell executor letters and talk about, yeah, you know, you use this letter. This is the letter that's going to get you out of whatever. Foolishness. Because majority of, 80 to 90% of the time, the so-called court that we're going to isn't a court.
That's the whole point.
So if it's not a court,
conviction,
right?
Some European I've seen.
Summary conviction, yeah.
Summary conviction court. You can use section 794 of the criminal code for your exemption, for your excuse, and then you can use section 15 of the criminal code.
Yeah, the no de facto.
De facto, right?
Right.
This European brother saying that you can use this if if you
Right.
use it, right?
Where's the
I
the
don't
criminal
think-
code books up there somewhere?
Specifically speaking, with Canada, right?
Oh, yeah, annual criminal code, that's not,
Yeah.
that's it?
Section 794. That was the first that he was referring to, that it merges with the section 15. You utilize both of them at the same time.
794. 794. No need to negative exemption, etc. No exception, exemption, proviso, excuse, or qualification prescribed by law is required to be set out or negative as the case may be in an information. The burden of proving that exception, exemption, proviso, excuse, or qualification prescribed by law operates in favor of the defendant is on the defendant, and the prosecutor is not required except by way of rebuttal to prove that the exemption, the exception, exemption, proviso, excuse, or qualification does not operate in favor of the defendant, whether or not it is set out in the information. Cross-references. The rules of criminal pleadings in Section 581, 593, and Section 601 of Part 20 apply to summary conviction proceedings under 795 with modifications. No comparable provision exists for a proceeding upon indictment. Synopsis. This section provides that an exemption or other proviso under which the accused might have a defense need not be negative or referred to in the information. The onus of proving the applicability of the exculpatory proviso rests on the accused, and the prosecutor need not prove the inapplicability even if the proviso is negative in the information. And then when you go to section 15, you find out why prosecutor has no say or whatever. Right? So section 15 of the criminal code. Obedience to de facto law. No person shall be convicted of an offense in respect to an act or omission in obedience to the laws for the time being made and enforced by persons in de facto possession of the sovereign power in and over the place where the act or omission occurs. So once somebody's in a de facto position, right, no person shall be convicted of an offense if they're de facto, right? So when we go to court, we're saying that we're de jure. Automatically, just by sending in writ of discovery, judicial proclamation, quo warranto, writ of mandamus, whatever that we send to the court, notice of special appearance. Us sending those things automatically means that we're de jure. So if we're de jure, who's de facto?
We're at the 794, the exempt.
Exactly. No proviso, no exemption. They don't have to prove anything because they're de facto. That's why they don't have to prove anything. Because whatever they claim to prove has no standing, because this is not a court. This is an administrative hearing. Right? So, you know, when you get quote unquote convicted in a quasi court or a traffic court, right? The conviction more than likely is against a straw, which isn't you. That's why when the brother went to court, Brother Camry went to court last week as well, right? And when he went in there, immediately, they didn't even get into anything. Immediately, who are you? Are you this guy right here? All right, bailiff, remove this guy. Because he's not the individual that we're looking for. You know? But his situation was in trial court. So, in order for the individual who's going into the court to be able to stand on the square and whatever, trial has to be going on. If trial's not going on, if it's not trial happening, right? Forget the jurisdiction of the court, de facto or whatever, right? Trial's going on, then you can put your whatever on the record. If you're setting up a court date, right? Those individuals don't have any power to make any decisions of dismissing something or not. Because all they're there to do is just to say, okay, see there's a calendar right there, which day you want to come. That's all. Right? So instead of him going in there, trying to stand on birthrights, them saying we don't want to hear none of that here, kicking him out of the court, issuing a bench warrant for the straw, but then coming and kidnapping him because, you know, they think he's whatever, right? I told him, why you go in there on the threat, duress, coercion, be the straw, and set up the court date? Because other than that, they're kicking you out of there and they're coming to kidnap you later.
And they keep coming back.
And they're going to keep you coming back. Or they might kidnap you and hold you. They might say, okay, you know, we're going to put a court date for 2 years from now. You know? Oh, well, but the guy wasn't here, so let's issue a bench warrant and go pick him up and hold him for the 2 years until his thing comes up. And then his charge was like, you know, no seatbelt or something like that. Right? So instead of, you know, trying to, you know, again, the denationalized mindset, trying to prove to these quasi-court guys that you are who you say you are when they don't care. They're not listening. They're not paying attention. It means nothing to them what your claim is. How about just be the straw on the threat, duress, and coercion? Because if you don't, they're going to come kidnap you. Let them railroad the straw. And then after they railroad the straw, then you do whatever it is that you have to do after to correct all their errors. Not that, you know, you want to see something from them corrected or whatever, right? But it's like with my tribe, right? Same thing, quasi-court. Well, you know, if you don't say that you're whatever, then we're going to, all right, cool. I'm straw man on the threat, duress, and coercion. You guys do whatever you want to do. What do you mean? You can't, oh no, don't worry, I'll see you guys after. You know, I'll pursue you guys further after. So, do whatever you got to do. Because obviously, you know, obviously you guys are quasi. So do what you must. And they did what they must. They dropped everything, right? Every charge that had nothing to do with fiat, they dropped. And then the charge that had to do with fiat, they quadrupled it. Right? And then they put it on the straw and sent me home. Okay, all right, cool. Excellent. So I got to go home. Now I can go write this writ up and send my writ of error to you about all the violations that you guys did during this so-called trial in your quasi-criminal court. Right? And not hear nothing from them since then about fines or nothing like that. That they said, you know, straw has to pay. And then when I call the so-called court that has to take the fines in, right? They don't want to give me anything. Oh yeah, I need something from you guys to show that, you know, I'm fine because I want to pay. But we don't have nothing to give you. Just pay. Just send the money. Right? Just send the money. What do you mean?
Just the money.
What do you mean just send?
Once they put it on paper,
No more writing.
once they put it on paper, it's
Right.
done, right?
Once it's on paper, it's done. Because all they're about is getting their fiat. They don't care about court. They don't care about due process of law. They don't care about following law, constitutions, nothing like that. Not lawful at all. So don't even pay them any attention. Right? But, still pay them attention because they're going to say some stuff, try to trap you up and, try to get you into jurisdiction and all that. But once again, all of this, and it's a repetitive theme, right? But all of this is because Moors didn't do what they're supposed to do from 1930. So now we got to deal with it. Now we got to deal with it. This is why we tell Moors, right? Like, for example, once again, Cujo the agent, right? Cujo's the agent because he doesn't, exercise right to travel and stuff like that. Well, I don't exercise right to travel because if I get kidnapped, ain't nobody coming to get me if I get kidnapped. So why am I going to go out there, jeopardize my freedom to practice some right to travel or whatever, right? When right to travel is an aspect of this.
That's not the whole of it.
Far from the whole of it. So anybody talking from the perspective of, well, this right to travel and the licenses and the taxes or whatever, and they're not talking about estate and status and correcting your status and making sure you're thinking right, go back to the state of mind of your ancient forefathers before you even go out there and try doing stuff, then they're probably gaming you. Because I ain't going out there doing no right to travel on the whim that, or hopefully I don't get stopped because I know something. But I know they're stopping. I know they're stopping me.
You've already tried it.
Yeah.
That's for the record.
Tried and true. Yeah, it's legit. Because, I did it for 9 months.
Yeah.
I know it's legit. But I also know that we're under occupation and these guys aren't going to let me be out there with some plates that have nothing to do with the Corporation of Ontario, right?
As well as the criminals, right? Who are going to are involved in racketeering.
We're going to be criminal as soon as we start exercising.
And they've got a scam going on, and they have the power to do things to you.
Right.
We gave them the power.
Because we gave them the power.
Unconsciously, we didn't know.
Right? Well, some of it's unconsciously.
Yeah.
Some of it is conscious. Right? Because remember, there were 30 Moors that were working on their side.
Yeah.
Who were conscious of nationality, birthrights, or whatever, and they said, you know what? Nah, we're not going to be down with that. We're going to be down with these people over here who wants to undermine everybody else.
And they did it for a payout.
Right? And they did it for a payoff. So they were very conscious. And like we tell all the Moors out there, don't forget all those guys' names are in the FBI papers, which is online right now. And some of those names are still around today, saying that they're grand chief, grand governor, grand this, grand that, they got a temple, come to their class or whatever. They're in the FBI papers. Today, 2014. Right? So we know who they are. It's obvious who they are. Because their names, quote unquote, public. Or in the public. Or was published. And then the FBI put that on their own website. The whole 1,100 pages or whatever it is, right, is public record information about the sellout. Right? Public information. And it's us acknowledging, stop stop playing like that didn't happen. Like there weren't dirty Moors. Just like people say, oh yeah, well the Europeans involved slavery when all the slave castles are in quote unquote African countries. You know European slave castles nowhere. So you're saying that Europeans built slave castles in land that's not theirs? Just like, Pale Indians built Olmecs. So Pale Indian built the Olmec. That doesn't look like him. Really? And if we buy that, then we're proven incompetent. And once you're incompetent, it's all about voluntary slavery for you. So going back to our state of mind, or going back to the mind of the ancient foreparents, should be an integral part in our liberation before we start acting liberated. Right? Like Harriet Tubman. I could have freed a lot more if they knew they were slaves. They don't know that they're slaves. Don't try to free them. But they might end up lynching you. And again, it comes back to the issue that Moors didn't do their job. So it's a duty and an obligation of Moors today who have knowledge of their nationality and birthrights to do the job that Moors didn't, which was going out and waking up their people, regardless of what we have to face out there. Regardless of what we have to go through to get the message to these people, right? Regardless of what we have to go through. It's something that has to be done because it hasn't been done, right? One of these right here has a, okay, right? So it has a picture with a statement, right? Moors greet the great prophet. This is like front page, right? Everywhere thus far on his entourage, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America has been accorded a rousing welcome in his quest to uplift fallen humanity. Unconscious Moors are falling into the movement in a way that makes the above cartoon no exaggeration of the movement, right? And then the above cartoon has the prophet, right? And then all this right here is Moors out here. All this is Moors. And then all these, and right here is all Moors. And then this is a full page ad. So this is only half the page. Right?
So they're going into the temple.
Going into the movement. Coming into the movement. Following the prophet. Which means that he had a few 100,000 of members during this time. Where are all those people at? What happened to all these people who were down with Noble Drew Ali during Noble Drew Ali's time?
That's right.
Right? We're talking about hundreds of thousands, like the upper hundreds. Not like 200,000 or whatever. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people that were down with this. They're not gonna make this statement, right? They're not gonna make this statement if he wasn't doing something on the most grand scale, right? Because remember, the only way that our story is going to be told is by us. So ain't no European going to be talking about, oh yeah, this guy by the name of Noble Drew Ali, and he came and he woke up all these Negro black colored people. And he brought them back into the truth of their ancient foremothers and forefathers, divine creed and whatever like that, and show pictures of, all the Moors and convention pictures and, all these Moors, standing over. They're not going to do that. Because that means that it's done for them if they do that. Right? But the Moors, being that this is our jurisdiction, we can put out what has to be put out without any worries about whether somebody's going to accept it or hear it or not, because this is called Moorish Guide. It's not European Guide. It's not the Nubian Guide. He's not the African guy. This is not the Negro black colored guy. This is the Moorish guy. So this is specifically for Moors and people who want to have allegiance with Moors. Other than that, they ain't going to read this.
I'm not too sure if you know about the information, but I heard Sister Raz Bey.
Yeah.
They've been interviewed, and she was saying how everybody's a Moor. And there's a specific terminology how she said that everybody birthed from a mother. There's a word that I can't remember how she rephrased it, but I'm just curious if you know how everybody's a Moor because of the way we were formed in our parents, our mother's womb, that we came out of the seven seas of some sort. I would like you to elaborate on that. If you can.
Okay, most I can do is refer you to, there's a blog talk show called Sisters Standing on Law that deals with all these matriarchal principles. Right? You can go on Blog Talk, you can listen to that. Or you can go on RVB website under the matriarch section.
Okay.
And then when you go there, you'll be familiarized a little bit more with that perspective. But ultimately the nationality comes from the mother, right?
Yeah.
The nationality comes from the mother.
Yeah.
So whoever's born from that womb, that's your nation. Now, when we were talking about, I can't remember when it was, but we were talking about Europe not being a continent, right? So there's no Europeans per se, right? Because Europe is not a continent. That was a fraud in history to try to give so-called Albions a place of reference for them to say they have something. But it's not their stuff. Because Moors ruled Europe. And Moors ruled Africa, and Moors ruled Asia, which is all Asia. So Europe's really Asia. That's why Europeans are known as Caucasian. Because the Caucasus Mountains is in Asia. So Europeans are technically Asians. Late Asians. Right? That's why Drew Ali came for the nations. Because there ain't no separation going on. No separatist movement and none of that. We're all human beings. Yes, there are some of us that are on a lower vibration than some. Yes, there are some of us that are recessive. And then some of us that are melanin dominant. Yes, there are some of us that are more disagreeable than agreeable. But cut any of them, they bleed. Right? They bleed. And like I'm saying, I'll give more honors to some Europeans and call them brother, but so are some people who look like me. Because I know that they're standing up for something right, just, whatever like that. And these people out here that look like me are playing crab in the bucket like they're crabs in a bucket or something. And they don't want to be responsible. They want to point fingers at everybody and blame everybody for stuff that happened to them. Right? When majority of it is our own. Right? So when I hear a European say, hey Cujo, I know I'm European, but what if I wanted to rewrite the Holy Quran in a language that can be relative to other people who speak something other than English? Because I know 5 languages or whatever. See any other Qurans out there in that language? No. All right, well, get to work. That's active. I ain't knocking him because he's European. That's honors right there. Of all the books out there in the world, all the books that everybody wrote, all these different authors or whatever, the book that he's gonna want to take to rewrite into whatever language is what Noble Drew Ali brought. And I'm not supposed to acknowledge that he's doing something for the nation, right?
So we later one of our people might be speaking that language.
And you know, one of our people who was speaking that language before that European should have did that. How come the light bulb didn't go off in the Asiatic's mind? Hey, there's no Qurans in whatever language. Maybe I should go and write that. Right? No different than Brother Omar. Hey, it'd be a good idea for us to have a Quran that people could listen to. What do you mean? Well, the audio version. Hey, how about we do that then? Right? Like there's so much work to do. Mad work to do. But, you know, slaves are lazy. Slaves don't want to work. You know? Because slaves think that, you know, the thing that they're doing is work. That's not work. You ain't picking no cotton ain't no work. You're corporate machinery. They plug into a wall and send it to do something. Or you have a guy, whatever. They're not working. Right? So when the Moors recognize, and we talk about this all the time, when the Moors recognize their authority and that everybody in the world is using Moorish birthrights to do whatever it is that they do. Everybody's using Moorish birthrights. Talked about last week. KKK is using Moorish birthrights. They dress up like the Moors and go kill niggers. The judge, Moorish birthright, dress up like a Moor, put on the black cloak or whatever, right? Put on the black fez in the form of a cloak and start talking about law here. Right?
We graduate.
Everybody using Moorish birthright. Children's services, they're gonna say, we're the mother. We're the mother, and we're gonna claim that property right there as ours.
That's why it's an individual movement. Everybody individually has to come out and become.
Well, it starts with you, right?
Yeah, it starts with the individual. Yeah.
The individual.
Yeah. Because why? Because I self-law and master. You know, we self-law and master. Some are self-law and master. I. Right? And really, you know, I self-law and master is really I self-law and master. Because this movement is about, you know, activating the pineal gland so we can get the throbbing going on again. You know what I mean? And start getting the energies from the universe back into ourselves so that we can start acting and being ourselves again. Even the Europeans. Because remember, they came out of the Dark Ages because of the Moors. And when they came out of the Dark Ages, they went to Kemet, go study. They went to all these places to go study. Right? Built up all these civilizations. Conquered civilizations, burned all their stuff, claimed that, oh yeah, it was our, you know, it was really our stuff, and we're the real founders of civilization or whatever like that, right? After they got all the people out the way, where do you think they learned all that stuff from? Themselves, right? We taught them everything. Because man must know his what? Higher self and lower self. And when you know your lower self, when you recognize, oh, my lower self, you'll recognize how to deal with these Europeans. Same when you dealt with yourself. Coming out of your lower self to your higher self. Because only the Moors have the power to recalibrate Europeans. Right? And Moors meaning, unconscious, conscious, doesn't matter. Like people are posting up right now on this thing of, oh, how do you feel about this? And then they show like Europeans with extensions. Like the braids, like Janet Jackson, Poetic Justice type of look, right? And then they're trying to, well, what do you think? Should the Europeans be doing this or should they not? Is this their talking about? It's hair. It's hair. You tell somebody they can't cut their hair a certain way because they look diverse to your nationality? Really? Because they're not. Because remember, it's a fraud, right? It's a fraud for Europeans, right, to go get extensions, right? But it's not a fraud for Asiatics to go use some Hindu lady's hair with a weave or whatever. Oh, it was my hair, I bought it, and stupid shit like that. Right? They're not in error, right, for wearing fake hair. Somebody else's hair on top of that. But Europeans in error because they've got extensions. Matter of fact, I guarantee you that the European who got extensions, she's not keeping her extensions in for 6 months, 8 months, or whatever, have lice growing up in the hair and all that. Like she's incompetent. Ain't no fashion show for them. Right? Ain't no fashion show. They're trying to get back to something civilized. They're trying to get back to anything civilized. And they know that it all comes from us. So when you see them taking our stuff, copying our stuff, using our stuff, don't get mad. Don't get mad. They're acknowledging where the foundation is. They're not secretive about it. All these Masons wear fezzes and stuff like that. Shriners Parade, and they got the little car and some are driving around, and they got fezzes on. Everybody, oh yeah, the Masons. No, the Moors. It's not the Masons. That's the Moors. Right? That's the Moorish birthright being used by some Europeans called Masons. Right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Court stuff. You got any questions with regard to what went down or bring up stuff that went down that day? Start from the beginning, I guess.
I feel like we sort of talked a lot about it. I sort of, I guess all I would.
Yeah, based on what we talked about off the record.
I understand that, but I'm just saying all that would really come to mind is just the realization that it's all fraudulent.
Right.
And ultimately, it's about creating a platform for them to manifest their fraudulent power.
Right.
So they call you up. I was watching other Wiccan Moors, and they would call up, John Smith as an example.
Yeah.
I don't know the name. John Smith came up. You were found to have run a red light on January 5th. Guilty or not guilty? Guilty, but what happened was I was doing this. Well, okay then, you're guilty. Fine $150. right? So there was no talk of who these people were.
Yeah.
It was just,
You know what? One thing I've noticed about these courts. You ever go to a mechanic shop and you go in the office area, there has to be a certificate of authenticity that you practice mechanics
Right.
in the office,
Right.
right? But when we go to these quality courts, all they have there is 2 flags.
Right.
well,
There's no information that tells me that when does their stuff expire,
Right.
right?
what is there?
Or what is
What is
their
their
stuff,
stuff,
right? But meanwhile, they'll go over to our mechanic shops and say, "Oh, you don't have this in here, you don't have this in here, we're shutting you
So
down."
we're shutting you down. Right. Right.
What they
So
do
we should
have,
be doing the same thing with them.
interesting, what they do have behind them is that horse,
Yeah.
two
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
horses, the crown, and
the crest.
British flag,
Imperial
the
crest.
British flag. I'm in Canada. Like, what's going on? Well, not Canada, but coat of arms, right?
All right.
Um,
But again, it comes back to the same thing. The coat of arms is Moorish protocol. The coat of arms is like the family crest, right? So the coat of arms that Ontario uses in those quasi courts, right, is them identifying that they belong to the Ontario society. U.S. corporate.
So within the Moorish
Within the Moorish society, because they can't be de facto without doing that under de jure. But they only do that under de jure because de jure is silent, right? So, you know, if de jure is not making a claim, then de facto is going to make a claim, right? So when we go into these places, and don't forget not just the coat of arms, but also the
that, and to add to it,
plaque as well.
all coat of arms, even in Quebec, is written in Latin. Why is
What I studied in Latin was first language.
Right.
that's
Latin
the
is a
whole
language.
point within the Moorish society? So it's all of them is written in Latin. But we're in Quebec right now. We're supposed to be speaking French.
It's in Latin.
It's in Latin.
In Quebec even. Right? Why? Because the jurisdiction of law under the Moors was written in Latin.
So are we obligated to learn Latin as more?
You're obligated to learn Spanish, which is, you know, a hybrid Latin.
but it would be, if you could have the type of time, learning Latin would be something definitely.
Right, yeah,
So
for
called
sure.
Traditional Latin
Right,
would be definitely something,
most definitely.
something to do. Right? But,
So,
like,
something,
the
you know,
problem
for
you have-
consideration, but, you know, with what we got to deal with, better we let the children learn 8 languages.
Oh, yeah, because their brains are
Because
formed. to
They're
do
not
that.
concrete yet. They're not a, you know what I mean? They still got the sponge bite,
Question.
right? So, the quasi courts, like you were saying, they forget about status,
There was no status, there was
No
no
status.
jurisdiction,
no jurisdiction,
and it just went to subject matter right away.
went to subject matter immediately,
That's what I realized.
and then
I was
adjudicate.
saying, I think I was saying to you, it was like a revolving door. It was
Right.
like, come up, say whatever, whatever.
Get them out of the way.
The
Next
only,
one.
the only time that there was an issue was there was about 3 or 4 of them who were obviously maybe in one area where the camera broke down.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the backup evidence to then state that, because the prosecutor, what I realized too was that the judge was doing everything. Prosecutor, sorry, sorry,
Magistrate or
the
whatever.
criminal.
JP,
the
JT.
doing everything. The prosecutor was only a sort of side to that. She would say, "Oh, I see the picture here. He's clearly run the red light." right? So that was all she was ever doing. He was the one calling up the name.
Right.
Well, she was the one calling the name. He was the one then asking if this person was guilty or not.
Right.
And then if the person said guilty with an explanation, he would hear the explanation and say, well, I find you guilty, and that would be it. Assign a fee, and then that person was just.
Did they do the thing where they get everybody's plea outside the court before they go in?
Well, I came in there at 9:05,
Yeah.
but I don't believe so,
Okay,
because there
okay.
were enough people just sort of sitting there, maybe
Yeah,
that had been done,
Yeah.
but what I do realize, I think that they were, the amount was reduced.
Yeah.
I think because the charge, originally, I think it was around $200. I think enough of them were getting $150
Yeah.
fine, so they were happy to take their.
Yeah, yeah, take whatever they could get. Yeah,
Right, without
yeah,
any fight.
yeah.
Um,
And I mean, Negro black colors, which includes the Europeans,
Right.
right? They hear half off, that's a deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a deal. Well, yeah, guilty. I'll pay 150 instead of 300. You know what I mean? Right? So it's dealing with them. It's a battle. That's why we say try to avoid going in there at all costs. But if you gotta go in there, you stand on birthrights. You study to make sure that you know what it is that you're doing, and you go in there, you stand on birthrights. As soon as you see that adversity, or people starting to have their nightstick, and they're going like this and stuff like that, staring at you and stuff. Got handcuffs and clink, 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 handcuffs and stuff like that. Might wanna, take a breath, recognize that they're trying to intimidate, which is what they do, right? Recognize they're trying to intimidate, and because we're studious, then you alter your approach. It's like when for example, when they do the take that hat off or whatever. Say, well, this is a national headwear. Well, you still gotta take it off because they're badgering and all that. You could say religious. Nothing's wrong with saying this is my religious headwear.
Yeah,
And then that way they can't touch you.
happened to me. I had a white bandana, just all white. Last week when I went to court, and the one bailiff guy came up to me and he said, "Hey, you gotta take that off your head." I said, "This is religious." He said, "Okay, go back to the bar," and he says to the other guard there, the woman guard, "Oh," he said, "This is religious." So she came up to me, now the other bailiff,
Yeah.
and says, what religion are you with that on your head?" I said, "Moorish American." And she says, "Stunned." And then she goes back to the bar, and the original person that asked me to take it off wasn't any of the two bailiffs. It was the one in the black work in the robe.
Yeah.
And she, underneath the JP.
Or the stenographer.
The stenographer.
Or
She
the
was
court clerk,
asking me to
court
take it off.
clerk.
She had to go to the other people to tell me to take it off instead of her saying take it off.
Yeah.
I didn't take it off right away, but my dad was beside me, and he's like, he's all freaking out. He's
Yeah.
rushing me. I'm like, you know what? I just took it off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
he was more nervous than I am beside there.
Well, but now this is why when we get all this information, we have to find ways to convince our immediate relatives that we're onto something legit. Or they're going to use them as overseers against you.
Well, but that's the issue too, but I think that a lot of that comes from, I've been having some of those issues too, but I think that it comes from the position that some of us are naturally born to fight and some
Right.
of us aren't.
So that's
Some of us have been beaten down in other parts of their life and have realized that it's easier for them to sort of acquiesce and do what they should do. They seem to get more out of that than trying to fight. I feel like you're not going to always be able to convince some of these sheep that. That's only going to come when
Yeah.
they actually see actual
See it in
stuff
others, right.
coming through. Because they're ready. They're ready, right? Once the shepherd can show them that they've got the right direction,
Yeah.
those sheep will start coming. But until that point, they're going to go with the
They're
strong
they're
arm.
sidelined. Yeah.
But anyway, skip back to things. What I realized is that they had those writs. Just
Yeah.
trying to play off that he didn't have
Yeah,
the writs.
yeah.
Then when he looked at it, he's like, "Oh, what is this?" And then that's when they played. What it was verbal poker, in my mind.
Yeah.
And he's then looking to find his way out of that.
Right.
You have to hold your position at jurisdiction. Or no, at status. At status.
Right.
You have to hold your at status to then sort of slip into jurisdiction, possibly at times.
But now also too, remember that with us sticking to status,
Right.
if we're challenging them on status, right? That means they have no jurisdiction.
That's right.
If they have no jurisdiction, right? Technically, they can't really dismiss
That's right. That's right.
because they have no jurisdiction.
So that's when you're in the mindset of them dismissing your case, you're kind of trapped in like, you're trapped in the middle because you want them to dismiss it, but yet you can't give them jurisdiction to dismiss it. So, like, how could you ask them to do something but they can't do until they get it?
it.
But what ultimately I think, and this harkens back to the whole issues all the way down the line, which is you've been put on a hook that you have no business being on to begin with, right?
Yeah, right.
That's the first hook. So then you're looking to get off of that hook. It's
Right.
not really even a hook, but it is a hook because it comes with all the other layers to it.
Right.
You're in there, you want to come out of there, like you say, with a positive result out of this, right?
Mhm.
That's what you want. You want this thing to go away in a certain way, right? Ultimately, we should all be in here every day just looking for things to go in there to then have status, like to battle them on, right? We should be looking to cross the street, not on the red light. We should be looking to, do, like that should be our,
Yeah, but you know, again too, like if we're gonna go into those tribunals to set this order, right? And they're colored. It's not really gonna amount to what we want.
actually, but
per
that's what
se.
I'm saying.
You know what I mean? Like it.
What I've realized is everything is so layered to the fraud that nothing going to prove that they're yes to get to the end to the beginning with isn't helping anything in the du jour realm of things anyways.
Right.
Really, what has to happen is that building needs to be blown up
Right.
in a sense, right?
Well, coordinated, right? Like,
No, I'm saying that
to
that
get
building,
them out of there,
that building,
nobody's in there.
that building has to not exist.
Well,
Yeah,
the
but
only way for that building to not exist is for our energies
Not to be in there.
That's right. That's right.
And then when nobody's in there, you take it down.
Well, if nobody's in there, they'll take it down themselves.
That's right.
Yeah,
You know,
they'll move it there.
Because the building itself is
The
only
building
being,
itself
is only being
not
supported by our energy.
Exactly.
No current is
Just
being
like
generated.
just like when we look at if we look at right now, right, in reference to relative to the corpse, when we go to 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 a.m., maybe up to 1 o'clock, right? When we go to a lot of these places, right, stores, etc., right, we might see, there's some activity in the parking lot because, there's cars there or whatever. That's not customers.
yeah,
Where?
That's staff
Where?
at stores.
everywhere. In that sense.
Because all these stores are shutting down,
Yeah.
right? All this, no jobs and, things of that nature, right? Those things are being revealed to us, but we're not paying attention to what's being revealed, right? We're not paying attention to, they must be in real bad shape if they're skipping all this, going straight to subject matter,
Right. That's
right? Telling people that, oh, you were fined 300, but pay 150, and we'll forget about everything else.
Right.
You know how bad their situation must be if they're not trying to collect all the fiat from that suit. How bad's their situation if they're cutting back on the suit? The suit that they say, okay, they have a book that says if you violate, you have to pay this.
Blowout sale.
Yeah, blowout sale. Right? Blowout
So
sale right
what
now.
you realize, you see, I don't know whether, like you say, they may have had a meeting.
They
beforehand,
probably have.
Right, they probably had that meeting
More
beforehand
than likely.
saying, come in and say you're guilty and you'll get reduced.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
that is where I
Yeah.
was upset because I didn't get there early enough. I
Yeah.
wanted to be there 15 minutes early.
Right.
To try and be about that.
And you rest.
Right.
Right?
So what I think where you're right, I think where you're right is ultimately, it's all about contract. It's all about contract, right? So I say to you, this is $100. I say this is $100 to you. It may only be worth $2.
Right.
But if you agree that it's $100,
Then it's
then
$100.
we're good.
Yeah.
Then we're good with it. So what we know is that this is a fraud from the get-go.
Yeah.
So we said it. I mean, this is what I learned from she was one of these attorneys too, that they never charge you with one thing.
Yeah.
Because ultimately they know, now that I realize it, everything's a fraud.
Right.
They charge you with 5 things.
Right.
Right? So I call it the throwing the mud at you.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to dodge 3
Yeah.
or 4 of them.
But something's gonna
Right?
hit you.
But not even that, but what they know is that ultimately if they've got you enough into that realm, then okay, we're not going to get you on this and this and this, but you'll agree to this
Yeah.
because you feel like you've
Right.
gotten away with something.
Right.
Right? So that's where they charge you $300 for this ticket. Oh, you only have to pay $120.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, I must have gotten a deal here.
Yeah.
No, the deal was they won.
They won. Yeah.
Right?
But they still got something.
Because ultimately, too, and this is probably where you're right, too, that where they probably did have this meeting beforehand, that if you have 30 people in there, I think like Brother Mari said, is that each one of those 30 people decides to fight everything.
Yeah.
Each one of those things is going to take about 15 minutes.
Yep.
15, 20 minutes. Therefore, the so-called $9,000 that they thought they could make,
Yeah.
they might only make $800.
Yeah.
Whereas if we get 30 of those people to agree to $100,
Yeah.
they make $3,000.
At least they make. Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So they cover. So it's probably one of those things done
Yeah,
too
yeah.
on that level.
Right.
Right? Where they're like, we're better to have you come in here plead guilty. Right? I think as well as it is the agreeing to this. It is the agreeing to the contract
Yeah.
behind it
Right.
that makes it all
All laws contract, right?
well, all laws contract, right? So that if you agree to it, even if it's wrong, and you agree to it, it makes it law.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. There's one question online. What if, and if anybody wants to add on to this or whatever, what if a Moor had a mindset to operate the court? Could there be bad consequences?
Say it again?
What if a Moor had the mindset to operate the court? To operate the court. Like taking control of the court.
Would it be a bad thing?
Could there be bad consequences?
I would have to say, just off the top of my
I don't care if you can get professional or not.
Okay,
I've seen a lot of
all right.
YouTube videos of people going to court with no plate. And they just bully the JP. And the JP gets up and he walks out of the room.
Right.
Right?
That happened
So
to me
that-
as well, but here's the understanding that, is it a court? That's the first thing.
Right. First thing, is it a court?
Is it a court? So, by the question asking, is it a court? Because that has not been established as yet. So we have to get out of the mindset that of knowing or thinking that it's a court. We don't know if it's a court yet, so we
Right.
can't really say we have control. We already have control in a sense by us just walking in there, in terms of knowing self. However, is it a court to begin with? Is the question.
And then, if it is a court, right? More than likely, the Moor being there would be the one in control of it.
All three.
You know, because the writs do set the order for how that court's going to run. If it's legitimate, right? So if the court's legitimate, you making a claim to the court is you really taking over the court because of what you're asking in your writs.
That's it.
So
That they're obligated to.
Obligated to answer.
So is it a bad thing or is it not?
Yeah, and well, I mean, it's a good thing, right? But the bad thing is, what jurisdiction is it? Is it a court? Is it a administrative hearing? You know?
That's right, well, because from what you understand, the Constitution says that the court would have to be one that is delegated authority from the Constitution on Article 3, so that wouldn't be a court.
Right.
So I think ultimately, that would be a de jure person coming into a fraudulent position.
Position.
And I think you can get yourself in trouble
Yeah,
with that.
I mean,
So,
you could
yeah,
get
so
yourself.
you would get yourself in trouble, yeah,
Right. So ultimately, it comes down to the court. Is that even a court?
And there are no courts
Right.
anymore. So
That too. You know what I mean? Because if we even look at, you know, somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody was telling me about, they heard something about one of the states trying to say that they're going to alter Supreme Court cases. They're going to alter Supreme Court cases so that those can't be used in the lower court.
All right. So where do they get the authority
To alter those cases. Right?
So,
You know what I mean? And if they do have authority to do that, then what does that say about the Supreme Court? Who's not saying nothing when these guys come in to try to do whatever with Supreme Court cases? Then the Supreme Court's a fraud. And then the Supreme Court's a fraud, you know, and then the next level up's international court. But then, you know, international court is supposed to be, you know, open jurisdiction for anybody who's international to go there and file a complaint. But, you know, only one of those is in Switzerland, and we ain't going over there no time soon to go file anything there. You know, your plane ticket alone. So you're not filing nothing online or over the phone or sending something to tell them to file a suit.
The roadblocks that they put in front of us.
Exactly. The roadblocks that they put up are mainly because they knew that this was coming.
Yeah.
The roadblocks that we face mainly are because they knew that this was coming. Because they knew about the prophet coming. And they said, you know what? We'll put some stuff in place to try to slow this thing down, because it's not going to stop really. Because, you know, 2014, we're still here saying that we're Moorish, challenging jurisdiction and challenging so-called positions of authority. Right? You know? But they knew what was coming. So, right? So with that, I think we'll close out. You got any announcements or anything like that? To put online or whatever?
No, I'll put it on. I'll send it out.
All right.
Well, and it's an announcement, but just a word. The phone call that just came through was a sister from Minnesota asking to be nationalized. Her and her husband, the whole family.
Right.
So she wants to know how to do it. She's
Right.
watching our classes, seeing everything that we've been doing, and she's like, listen, I need to get nationalized. Like,
Right.
now.
Right? So, like Drew Ali said, and we'll close out on that note, right?
Yeah.
Like Drew Ali said, keep the doors open.
Yep.
Because when I open the floodgates, you're going to need 16 secretaries to write down all the names. And that prophecy is manifesting right now. Because people are waking up. I got a call from a brother from Brampton last night.
Oh, yeah.
Young brother, yeah. That, you know, same thing. You know, I'm not sure what this is about or whatever, but I need to nationalize.
Really?
Yeah, that's where,
All right. Well,
you know what I mean? So,
send his number to me.
yeah, so we it's happening, Moors. It's on. You know what I mean? Stay on your square. You know what I mean? Recognize that Noble Drawley came for us, and he gave us what we need to do to take and save a nation, and he told us to take it and save ourselves. And once we take our nationality, birthrights, etc., and we take it and save ourselves, right? Then other people would be inspired to get down, right? So once again, brother D Miller L, if you want to get the Moorish Guide newspapers, right? Talk to brother D Miller L. He's on Facebook, and as well, don't forget you can go to Amazon.com and you can get the new book by Grand Sheik Cujo, Noble Drawley Plenipotentiaries and the Negro Black Colored Addiction. And then that's presented or put out by Khalifa Media Canaanland. Yeah, it's on. And there's about 4 more books coming, so you know, don't worry. You got something for you. And next week, if you're in the Philadelphia area, New York area, New Jersey area, you know, anywhere around Philadelphia, next week there's going to be a big lecture going on with Brother Seton Rabin, speaking on Move. And if you're not familiar with Move, just Google them. Move, M-O-V-E. You can also Google Move 9, and you can also Google John Africa, and stuff will come up, right? So we want to say Islam to all the Moors. Islam. All the Moors online. We had, I think about 10 or something like that. Yeah, so we had 1,000 Moors online today.
That's it.
Excellent. Right, so Islam to you Moors. And we'll just close out with the prayer. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet. Noble Drawley. Islam. Peace.
Here.
So, is it on?
No.
Stop it.
Yeah, you can stop that. Peace and love, Moors. Islam.